Have you ever looked at your life and thought, this can't be it? You wake up, you go through the motions, yet something inside you is screaming for more. More purpose, more fire, more direction. But you don't move, you stay stuck. Today, that ends. Have you ever wondered why feeling stuck hurts so much? Not physically, but in that quiet space beneath your ribs where your truth lives. It's a silent suffocation. You wake up each morning, and before your feet even hit the floor, a voice whispers, another day just like yesterday. You move through your routines automatically, brush your teeth, check the phone, drink the coffee, but inside you carry that heavy, nagging suspicion that you were meant for something more. You look around and everyone else seems to be moving, building, growing, climbing, and you're frozen in place. It's not that you don't see the path ahead, it's that your own mind holds the steering wheel with a white-knuckled grip. What you feel isn't boredom, it's internal resistance disguised as logic. The part of you terrified of change has learned to speak in reasonable sentences. This isn't the right time. I need more information. I don't want to make the wrong move. So you remain still. And that stillness becomes a prison. Most people think being stuck is a sign of weakness, like something you should be ashamed of. But let's tell the truth, it's human. Feeling stuck is what happens when your dreams outgrow your habits, when your potential starts pressing against the walls of your comfort zone and demands to be heard. The problem isn't that you lack ambition, it's that your ambition has been smothered by fear, disguised as practicality. Fear says, be realistic. Fear says, play it safe. Fear says, what if you fail? But underneath that fear lies another question never spoken aloud. What if I succeed? What if I outgrow the people I know? What if I change so much I don't recognize myself? That thought can be even scarier, because success demands responsibility. It demands growth. It demands shedding old identities. So we cling to the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. Feeling stuck isn't procrastination, it's self-protection. But every cage eventually becomes too small. The walls you feel around you didn't appear overnight. They were built slowly, silently, over years. With every moment you avoided discomfort, every risk you didn't take, every dream you whispered but never acted on. Each brick is a belief planted by past disappointments, old wounds, criticism from people who couldn't see your potential even when they were looking right at you. Maybe a teacher told you you weren't good enough. Maybe a parent projected their own fears onto your future. Maybe society boxed you into a role based on your zip code, your gender, your last name, your past. And little by little you learn to shrink, to doubt, to wait for permission. That internal architecture becomes invisible but powerful, shaping your decisions, influencing your behaviors, killing possibilities before they take root. What feels like stagnation is actually conditioning, mental programming built on repetition, and until you name those walls, you can't tear them down. So let's name them. Perfectionism is a wall, shame is a wall, comparison is a wall, choosing safety over possibility is a wall. We justify those choices with excuses that sound rational but are built entirely from fear. I don't have enough experience. I don't know where to start. I don't want to risk looking foolish. Excuses are the prison guards of the mind. They convince you to stay inside because they've convinced you that outside is dangerous. Meanwhile, your spirit keeps pacing back and forth like a caged animal, restless, frustrated, desperate for open space. You are not stuck because you lack opportunity. You are stuck because you doubt your ability to rise to that opportunity. You are not stuck because you don't know what to do. You are stuck because you don't believe you are ready to do it. And readiness is a myth. one that keeps millions paralyzed. The painful irony is that the longer you remain stuck, the more comfortable your cage becomes. Familiarity numbs ambition. We start believing the walls are permanent. We start calling our cage stability, even though it suffocates us. We tell ourselves this is mature, responsible, realistic. But deep down, we know it isn't. We're just afraid of the unknown. The unknown exposes potential failure, and failure exposes vulnerability. But here's the truth: stagnation guarantees failure. The failure of never knowing what could have been, the failure of rejecting your potential before the world even had a chance to witness it, the failure of abandoning yourself. That is a quiet kind of tragedy, a slow erosion of self-belief. It eats away at your identity day after day until you forget you ever wanted more, until you forget there was a time when you believed greatness lived inside you, until the voice that whispered dreams becomes silent for good. Facing the truth about being stuck isn't comfortable, but it is necessary, because the moment you admit the real reason you're not moving, it changes everything. When you name your fears instead of hiding from them, they lose power. When you challenge the excuses instead of obeying them, the walls begin to crack. When you accept that waiting for the perfect moment is just procrastination. Dressed in confidence, you realize something transformative. The door to your freedom was never locked. It was your belief that held you inside. When you understand that, the weight begins to lift. You start to see possibilities instead of prisons. You start to feel a flicker of courage beneath the fear. You start imagining what your life could look like if you refuse to settle. That's the moment when being stuck becomes intolerable. That's the moment you stop negotiating with your limitations. That's the moment growth begins. You can remain stuck another year, or you can decide that today is the day you walk toward possibility, no matter how uncertain, no matter how afraid. The choice is yours, and it always has been. There is a silent debt attached to every day you remain stuck. You may not see the payment immediately. There's no bill, no past due notice, no alarm ringing. But the cost accumulates in ways that shape your identity. Every morning you ignore that pull toward change, you chip away at your self-trust. You start to blur the line between what you want and what you tolerate. You start believing that your stagnation is normal, that passion fades with age, that ambition is a luxury reserved for someone else. You rationalize the discomfort. At least I'm stable. At least I'm surviving. But deep down, survival without growth becomes a slow spiritual death. And most people don't even realize they're paying the price until years have passed. Until they wake up and wonder where their enthusiasm went, where their courage disappeared, where their identity slipped away. The cost of stagnation is never obvious at first. It hides beneath excuses and routines. But it is real. It is relentless. And eventually it demands full payment. Some costs are emotional. When you stay stuck long enough, your dreams start to feel like fantasies instead of possibilities. You begin rejecting opportunities before they even arrive because you assume you're unprepared or unworthy. That mindset creates a feedback loop. Inaction breeds doubt, doubt breeds more inaction. Confidence isn't lost in one big moment. It leaks out slowly through every decision you don't make. You might tell yourself you're just waiting for clarity, but clarity comes from experience, and experience comes from action. Stagnation shrinks your worldview. It narrows your possibilities. It makes you suspicious of change and defensive against challenge. When you watch someone else succeed, you feel a painful blend of admiration and jealousy, not because you begrudge them their success, but because their movement amplifies your stillness. Their progress highlights your potential, and that hurts. Not because you can't grow, but because you haven't given yourself permission to. Other costs are physical. The body responds to emotional stagnation as stress, tension, exhaustion. You feel drained not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too little of what aligns with your purpose. When you ignore your desire for growth, the nervous system interprets it as danger, a threat to survival. That's why feeling stuck feels heavy in your chest, why your shoulders tighten, why breathing grows shallow. The body knows when you're betraying your true potential, even when the mind pretends everything is fine. You end up restless at night because your spirit is wrestling against the cage you've created. You end up fatigued during the day because your energy has nowhere meaningful to go. Purpose energizes, stagnation drains, and the longer you ignore that inner knowing, the more the body internalizes it, manifesting stress and disconnection in ways you eventually cannot ignore. Then there are the relational costs. When you stay stuck, you disconnect not only from yourself but from others. You grow resentful toward people who push forward, even the ones you love, because their progress threatens the identity you've built around comfort. You may start avoiding conversations about goals, downplaying your dreams, or surrounding yourself with people who normalize complacency. This creates a subtle emotional distance. Not because you want to isolate, but because facing the potential in others forces you to face the stagnation in yourself. And when children, partners, or friends look to you for inspiration, you offer them hesitation instead of conviction. You teach them limitation instead of possibility, not intentionally, but inevitably. Stagnation doesn't just cost you your future, it influences the futures of everyone watching you define what's possible for yourself. There is also the spiritual cost, the one most people never speak about because it is invisible until it becomes unbearable. The soul has a language. It communicates through longing, curiosity, restlessness. When these signals go ignored, the voice grows quieter. Not because your purpose disappears, but because your inner wisdom begins losing faith that you will listen. That disconnect leads to numbness, not the dramatic kind, but the subtle erosion of meaning. You start asking questions like, why bother? What's the point? That is the soul's warning sign, a distress call signaling that you are living smaller than you were created to. And the tragedy is, once numbness sets in, you may not even remember what you once desired. You lose access to the compass that once pointed you toward possibility. That is the steepest cost of all, the forfeiting of the life you're meant to live before it even begins. Worst of all, stagnation doesn't freeze time, it accelerates regret. Years pass while you wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect plan. And one day, you'll look back and realize the opportunities you thought you'd always have are no longer available. Not because you weren't capable, but because your hesitation created missed moments that never come again. Time doesn't negotiate, it doesn't pause for fear or insecurity. Every day spent standing still is a day you'll never get back, and regret is heavier than failure will ever be. Failure can be redeemed, regret cannot. Failure teaches strength, regret teaches nothing except sorrow for what never was. And if there's one truth you need to internalize, it's this: the cost of staying where you are will eventually outweigh the fear of stepping into the unknown. Choosing stagnation is choosing decline. Choosing growth is choosing life. The pain of change is temporary, but the pain of staying stuck lasts a lifetime. We keep waiting for motivation like it's some divine lightning bolt that strikes only once conditions are perfect. We wait for inspiration, for clarity, for confidence, believing that once the emotional spark hits, we'll finally take action. But motivation is unreliable. It's fleeting. It rises and falls based on mood, sleep, stress, weather, other people's opinions. If you allow motivation to dictate your movement, you will spend your life in a holding pattern, circling your potential, but never landing in it. The truth is, motivation follows action, not the other way around. You don't think your way into progress, you move your way into it. Waiting to feel ready is the biggest trap because readiness isn't a feeling. It's a result of doing hard things repeatedly. And yet, society sells motivation like it's fuel, when really, the true fuel is momentum. Momentum only forms when you take the first imperfect step. The power of movement lies in its simplicity. We underestimate small beginnings because we've been conditioned to worship big outcomes. We fantasize about the transformation without respecting the process that makes it real. But every achievement that inspires us was built from small, often invisible actions. One push-up leads to 2. $1 saved becomes 1,000. One conversation opens the door to a new career. The scale doesn't matter. What matters is the repetition. When you choose action over hesitation, you send a message to your subconscious mind, I am capable, I am moving, I am claiming responsibility. And that message begins to rewire your belief system. You begin experiencing evidence of your ability rather than fear of your limitation. It's not the grand gesture that sets you free. It's the repeated decision to move when staying still feels easier. Movement creates feedback. Feedback builds confidence. Confidence fuels motivation. This is the cycle most of us misunderstand. We assume confidence comes first, that once we believe in ourselves, action will feel natural. But belief is earned through behavior. You cannot think yourself into a new identity, but you can act yourself into one. Every step taken, even if clumsy, even if uncertain, disrupts the narrative that you are stuck. That shift changes everything. The moment your brain sees movement, it adjusts expectations. Possibility begins to replace paralysis. That is why movement is the antidote to fear. Fear thrives in stagnation. It multiplies in silence, in avoidance, in waiting. But once you act, fear loses control because it can no longer cite inaction as evidence that you're incapable. Action exposes fear as the fraud it is. People often say they're stuck because they don't know where to start. But the starting point isn't complicated. Start wherever you are with whatever you have. That first step is not supposed to feel comfortable, it's supposed to feel disruptive. Growth requires friction. If you wait to eliminate discomfort before acting, you will wait forever. Progress demands discomfort because discomfort is the signal that you are crossing the border between who you've been and who you could become. That border isn't guarded by logic, it's guarded by fear. And fear doesn't disappear, it diminishes when you walk through it. You don't need certainty to act, you need courage to act without certainty. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's movement in spite of it. You don't break stagnation by strategizing your way into perfection. You break it by making progress messy, raw, unpolished, but real. Movement creates identity shifts in ways that thinking never can. When you act, even in small ways, you begin aligning your behavior with your desired identity. A writer writes, a leader leads, a healer heals, a creator creates. You cannot wait to feel like these identities before embodying them. You must act before you believe. When you act, you create evidence. Evidence reshapes belief. Belief sustains new behavior. This is how transformation happens, not through epiphanies or sudden strokes of clarity, but through consistent, intentional action. Every time you choose movement instead of analysis paralysis, you accumulate inner power. You teach your brain to trust you. That trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes momentum. And momentum becomes unstoppable transformation. The breakthrough isn't in motivation, it's in movement multiplied over time. And here is the most powerful truth: momentum makes the impossible inevitable. Once you start moving, opportunities appear that weren't visible before. Not because they didn't exist, but because stagnation blinds you to possibility. When you're frozen, your vision narrows. You see obstacles instead of openings. But movement widens perception. It signals to your subconscious mind that you're pursuing growth, prompting your intuition to awaken. You begin noticing pathways, people, and resources all aligned with your progress. This isn't luck, it's alignment earned through action. You unlock doors by walking toward them, not by staring at them.